What jewels are your boobs? The timeless question.
Step number 1 is do the wrong thing for a really long time. Do the thing that isn't in alignment with you.
I get notifications from my phone now telling me that I'm going to be horny.
Awareness plus alignment equals mindfulness.
The first breakup is torture.
Your partner's like, does she think I can't do this on my own?
It's like very hard to hold on to the memory of pain, even your own.
I would have probably just tried to say the thing that my employer wanted to hear. Hey, welcome back. We're Not For Everyone, a podcast hosted by a hater and a lover. I'm Jess, that's Caroline. I immediately have a pressing issue to ask you about.
Okay, yeah, ask me.
So I saw this on an Instagram reel, which is where I collect all of my data for the podcast. And
all your science.
All my science. And this guy was talking about how if you look at any surface, like I'm sitting in front of exposed brick, if I look at the exposed brick, or if I look at like my bedding or any surface around me and think about how it would feel to put your tongue against it, you can accurately imagine it, even if you've never put your tongue on that thing.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't like that.
I've been thinking about it for days. And
why would a scientist say that?
I don't know that he was a scientist. He's just my science, in Instagram science.
Oh no.
But think about, just look around where you are and think about all the surfaces that you know what it would feel like to put your tongue on it.
Stop it. Okay. First of all, stop it. I don't know if I've told you this, but I have one of my main stupid hang-ups is around stuff going in my mouth. Like, I feel like everybody has some version of this. Like, some people, don't want to look at a needle because they've got like issues around needles and thinking about it like puncturing their flesh. Mine is just imagining things going in my mouth. Like whenever I pass people on the street who are acting like really erratic or something, whoever they are, if it's a woman yelling or someone having crazy behavior or whatever, my first reaction is to close my mouth because I'm afraid they're going to spit in my mouth.
Whoa.
Or like when I see something really, really gross, I have like a compulsion where I have to spit because I'm immediately imagining that thing like a slug or something in my mouth and I have to spit it out. So it's not a hang up that like impedes the course of my life, but it is
until today.
It is something that I think about a lot and I really don't like it. And I feel like I have to spit right now thinking about all these things I could lick.
Yeah, I just poked on a trigger. I'm so sorry.
You kind of did.
If it makes you feel any better,
it won't.
I brought this up to Ryan thinking that it was some like, amazing thing that he was going to be like, "Whoa, yeah, totally." And his response was like, "Well, yeah, it's the same as your hands. Like your body is made to be able to like approximate what touch would feel like, and it can get pretty close."
Yeah. And your tongue is actually more sensitive than your fingertips. But I still don't like that. And I reject Ryan's lack of empathy for our scenario right now.
I'll let him know. There was something else. Oh, speaking of his lack of empathy for our situation, I played for him the part of the podcast last week where I talked about Genius Couple and we sang the songs that we do for Ryan and Justin. And you suggested, rightfully, and I'm very grateful for your suggestion, that I need to end my Genius Couple song with Spank My Rear End, which... Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't yet. It's at the very beginning, people. And you'll hear our beautiful songs for our boyfriends. And it was the right lyric that I've been missing this whole time. So I played it for him, and he was like, I can't get behind what Baby Teeth is saying here. He's just not down right now for our opening segments, I guess.
Well, sometimes people have creative differences, and in this moment, he is our Yoko Ono, splitting up the band.
He could never.
He could never.
What's going on with you? Tell me things.
Not too much. I am, for anyone watching on YouTube right now, this is not like a CGI'd background. I am in like the woods in a cabin on an island off of New York.
How is it simultaneously an island and the woods and New York? I don't know. That felt like a lot of things. I guess it does make sense and all lined up.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, like, Manhattan is an island, and so there's more of them. And this is an island that's not tropical, but it's forest. It actually looks a lot like Maine. Like, if you think of the coast.
Okay.
Like, Maine cabins and stuff. Yeah, and I have a really bad Wi-Fi connection, which is why Jess and I cannot actually see each other on video right now. We're just recording our videos separately. So if she takes off her shirt or something and gives us the goods and I have no reaction, it's not because I've seen them a million times. It is because I actually just can't see her right now.
She's been waiting to see it, so
yeah.
This might just be my moment. You might have to go watch our YouTube video to see the real thing.
If you show them the jewelry today, of all days when I can't see the jewels, I would feel betrayed.
I would never. The jewels are for you. I preserve them for you.
What jewels do you think your boobs are? Like, what jewels?
Oh, wow.
Are they pearls? Are they rubies?
Ooh. Well, rubies are my birthstone, if that's a thing that we still care about. I feel like when I was a kid, I was really hype about birthstones, but I think the zodiac has surpassed that. Yeah. And so nobody talks about them anymore, but my birthday's in July, so rubies are my birthstone, but I don't know if that's quite
the best one. Yeah.
You think it's the best one?
I always thought rubies were the best one.
What's yours? August.
August, it's like peridot. I don't know how you say it. Peridot. Oh. It's a light, like vomity green. And which I know because I remember my grandmother bought me birthstone earrings, I think when I was a kid. And she was like, well, it's not actually your birthstone, it's the emerald, because your birthstone's an ugly green. So she gave me like emerald, which is a different month. And I was like, okay, so not birthstone earrings. These are just green earrings.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, I bet I could find beauty in them, as I do, as the lover.
Ever the optimist? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, what jewels are my boobs?
What jewels are your boobs? The timeless question.
I honestly don't know because I don't think that they don't take the shape. They're like two stones that you find on the beach that are really rare and beautiful, and they're like kind of an odd shape and color, but that makes them special.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking that your boobs were the color of rubies, just to be clear. That's not what I was just saying. Like, what's the energy of them?
The energy of them, I think, is still what I said. Rare stones that you find on the beach.
You find and then you take like them. A boulder to me. Are they boulders?
Just a little maybe smaller than that.
Sea glass, like sea glass that's been rounded and smoothed.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, people who like collect, like go to beaches to collect beautiful stones and crystals and stuff that wash up onto the shore, and then I think sometimes they even take them to like a jeweler or a gem master. I don't know what the term is.
Gem master. The term is gem master. You know the term. Yeah.
Gem masters. And,
gem masters.
And I feel like mine, they would find them and be like, oh, these are pretty. Oh, yeah, I haven't seen any like these. Okay, let's pick them up. And then they'd take them to the gem master, and then the gem master would be like, oh, these, I've been looking for these my whole career. I think that's what my boobs are. That's the energy they give. Is that too confident?
No, I don't think it's too confident. I lost you for a little bit there, but we're just, I get the vibe. Yeah. No, I think that's appropriate. My boobs are, what is that like kind of, honey or amber that like bugs can get crystallized in. Is it amber?
I don't actually know, but that would make sense to me.
Yeah, I think they're like little dewdrops that, if left in the right conditions, will harden over time.
Okay.
That's what
I
my
think that's
boobs
really
are.
sweet. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the gem master would take an interest in that. As the gem master.
Gem master makes me think of mixologists. Just like stupid names for careers
Everything
that
is an
already existed and
ologist.
had a name. Yeah.
Today is May 25th as we record this. And
oh my God. I did not know that.
and that's the topic. That's all I have for you. Update. It's the 25th of May. No, that actually is kind of wild, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I wanted to say about it is that my Instagram reminded me that 5 years ago today was essentially the first day that I liked living in Chicago. I had been here for 6 months and I was really miserable when I first moved here. And there's so many reasons for that I've talked about before and I could get into again. But essentially, I had been here for 6 months really miserable. And then on May 25th, 2019, the sun was hitting in such a way. My friends were in town for a bachelorette party. We all went out on a boat on the lake. And I was like, oh, I can experience happiness again. So this is kind of a significant day for me. And it made me really reflect on like the growth of that time period, you know, and moving to a new place and how long it takes to kind of be like, oh, it's okay here. I'm alive. I'm okay, you know?
It is crazy, yeah, because things like that, it happens so gradually and not necessarily linearly.
Yeah.
Like day to day, it doesn't feel linear. And I feel like I've thought a lot about how I think this is the hardest part. One of the hardest parts of being a teenager and being in your 20s is that so much of being able to survive a difficult period comes from having gone through multiple difficult periods and just finally trusting that they will end. And like now when I'm in a difficult period or a transitional period, I intellectually trust and know that it will end based on previous data, but it still doesn't feel like it. Like, it's not like the feeling changes. It's just that I have the experiences of the past to point back to.
Yeah.
And when you're in your 20s and you go through your first breakup, or you're really lonely for the first time, or you move to a city for the first time, you have no evidence in your own history that it will ever feel differently. It's just, I think it's really just racking up some instances of horrible periods in your life, and that's what helps you get through them later. But it still feels horrible when you're in it. It still just doesn't feel like it'll change. Like, this time it'll be different and there won't be an end.
Yeah, that's true. You always leave room for that. There's something in you that's like, you know, this may be the time that kills me. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, though. And it's hard when you're in it, too. And maybe it is your first go around of something so significant happening, like a big move or a breakup. Or for me, it was both at the same time. And
awesome.
Yeah, which is common. You know, a lot of people, like, when it rains, it pours, kind of.
Totally.
And my friends were so there for me during that time period, and it's like a large part of why I did okay sooner than later, like started to feel better faster, was because of my support system. So I don't say this to diminish that, but at the same time, if your friends have already gone through that thing, like already been through the really big breakup or already done the really big move away from home or whatever it is, already had like a really pivotal, heavy, difficult life change moment and had to move through that themselves. And then you try to talk to them about it when you're in it. It's like they already have the perspective potentially of like, oh yeah, you get to the other side. And that's not helpful to hear when you're in it. And it can be really difficult to be like, nobody gets it. And it's like, they actually do get it. And they've actually probably been through something like this before. They just have the hindsight is 2020 that you don't have yet. And like, they can't really, you kind of have to get that by yourself, you know, like you can't really expedite that, and there's not something somebody can tell you that makes that easier or faster or better. I think that was one of the harder parts of it for me, was like, I was 27 or 28 going through my first breakup, and everybody else was kind of like, yeah, I've had a breakup before, like, yeah, you'll survive it. And
the first breakup is torture.
And obviously I knew logically I would survive it, but like, that's not how it felt day in and day out. And somebody telling me like, you just have to move through it instead of around it, or whatever the phrases are.
You're like, the fuck does that even mean?
It's like, well, no, I'm very much in it, and it's very painful. No. So I don't know what more you want from me. Yeah, I think that's one of the harder parts. Everybody has to do that alone to some degree.
That's why one of the most helpful things for me long term was keeping a log of the horrible times. And I've talked about this in videos before, so pardon me if you've already heard this, but I will keep a log. I mean, it's kind of like a journal, but it's way watered down. Just like even assigning a number, 1 to 10, of how horrific I feel today. And, I'd have a log that I think I literally titled it like how I'm feeling right now. Pretty straightforward. And it might be like Monday, May 25th, 9 a.m. I'm at a 2 out of 10. 1 is the worst. And later that evening, I'm at a 3. The next day in the morning, I'm at a 4. The next evening, I'm at a -5. And it's not that there's a linear progression, but there is still a trend over time. And that was helpful because it doesn't help to hear it from somebody else. But when I had this data to look back on, it's like I could hear it from myself. I could say, look, 3 months ago, I was feeling the lowest I've ever felt, with complete certainty that it would never end, and no one's ever felt this way, and I could never feel differently. And by my own data and my own account, I can see that I got through that. And then that makes such a difference the next time you're in that period. Mm-hmm. But you have to, I found I had to write it down, because how easily we whitewash pain. It's like very hard to hold on to the memory of pain, even your own. And it's really hard to remember the day-to-day hopelessness of a period where you felt really hopeless. Like, it's easy to look back. Once you get out of it, you can look back and be like, yeah, I remember that was a hard time. Or like, yeah, I think I was lonely. But once you feel better again, it's just hard to remember that pain. I think it's like how some mothers can't remember childbirth that well.
Yeah.
Or even physical pain. I think it's like not even physically possible to remember the feeling of searing pain, or like searing burning or searing heat, like physical pain. Your body just, like, the memory, you can remember the idea of it, but you can't like get in touch with how it felt. And I think it's the same for emotional pain to a certain degree. I think it's just easy for you to forget the great pain that you felt in some areas of life when it's that hopelessness. Mm-hmm. And actually taking a really close account and log of it for myself, so that I have the data and I'm like, nope, I was feeling the lowest that I was concerned that I had ever felt, really helped to have the pattern to look back on. Sometimes I still read those logs just to remind myself, like, also to see like how quickly things change. Sometimes I was at my lowest low, and 8 hours later, I was in some kind of survivable state. Like, I can breathe again. And it's like it's a matter of a few hours. And that makes all the difference when you learn like relief. Like, reasonable relief might be a few hours away, maybe not years away.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference. I really recommend it. When you're feeling horrible, write it down. You don't even have to say much about it. Just like mark it somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually what you literally just last said, I think is huge, because for so long I've heard people talk about journaling and like how helpful it is to track their emotions and to write out how they're feeling. And it's just never been something that I've been able to stick with. You are very good at maybe not journaling, but this like in between of just tracking and like collecting that data for yourself. And I like how you said, like, you don't need to write a whole lot about it. Just mark it in some quick way that you understand over time.
It could just be a number.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really helpful. There was something else I was going to say about that. Oh,
because it captures change. It's not so much that, I mean, like journaling and like digging into your thoughts and feelings is helpful in a different way. That can be more metabolizing things in the moment. But like with the log, what I'm trying to do is not dive deep into every feeling and why. It's more to capture the change of things.
Yeah.
Over time. Like seeing, I think that's what I'm most fascinated by, is seeing how a life changes, how a human experience changes over time. Yeah.
I started doing, speaking of logging your moods, I started kind of loosely doing that based on your recommendation a few weeks ago. I'm not good at sticking with it. Like I downloaded this daily app and it's pretty simple the way it has you log things, and I'm still not really doing it every single day, but I'm trying to do it more often than not. And I don't think there's anything conclusive there yet, but I have moved through about a month of just being more aware of my patterns that I talked about in my Jess thoughts of like creative, high energy, and then tired, and kind of like understanding what my weekly flow over the course of the month is. And I wrote it down. I wrote down my hypothesis, basically. And then I'm going to use the daily app that I'm tracking in to compare against my hypothesis once I have enough data there. But my hypothesis is basically, and you tell me because you know the menstrual cycle better than I do, because you're always referencing your luteal phase. So tell me if this is right. First week of the month, I feel like creative, high energy. The week after that, I feel a little tired. And then by the end of that week, I am emotional. It wraps up emotional. Then the third week, I'm emotional and maybe a little horny. And then the fourth week, I'm irritable but higher energy. So basically, I'm in a bad mood for 3 out of 4 weeks, but the energy levels are like high, then lower, then horny, then higher again.
Creative energy just turns into
that's
horny
my
energy.
That's my hypothesis right now.
Creative energy turns directly into horny energy. I mean, that sounds a lot like my energy cycles, but I don't even think there's one way. I'm not going to say like it looks the same in everybody's menstrual cycle, or like everyone kind of has different moments or different versions of what they feel like in the luteal phase, from what I understand. So yeah, I don't give a fuck what other people feel. It's just helpful to know how I feel. But that does kind of match up with, I think, what I cycle through. Horny. Lol. I've been loving it. Yeah. It's either I'm feeling creative and I want to make content, or I'm horny. But
or I'm just
or
bad.
I'm a bad
or
girl.
I just don't talk to me. Yeah, or I'm a
bad bitch.
And it's unfortunate that bad girl and horny don't line up more often.
But then
alas,
the world wouldn't stand a chance against us.
That's so true.
I don't know what my point was. I've been logging it on my like period app, and it gives me alerts now that it has a few months of data to predict my symptoms and stuff. And it will give me alerts. Like I get notifications from my phone now telling me that I'm going to be horny. That's a notification I get. It says frisky. It's like you might be feeling frisky. But yeah, I get notifications. My phone now gives me notifications for when I'm horny.
Wait, is it just your like Apple? It's not Apple Health. You have a specific app for it?
No, it's called Flow. Is the one I downloaded.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of that.
Not sponsored.
Interesting. Okay, well, I do kind of like that. I mean, obviously you have to have enough data so for them to be able to do that, but that's appealing. I don't know if the app that I got, which is called Dailyo.
Nice. It's nice because it's just that check of, it's mindfulness. It really gets you back into mindfulness. Instead of being swept away in what you're feeling, you can mindfully feel what you're feeling. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm obsessed with like mindfulness and Zen practices. So it feels helpful to me for that. But I don't know. If it works for you, great.
No, I'm with you.
Just be horny.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of like being surprised by my horniness sometimes. I don't know if my boyfriend feels the same. I think he would actually appreciate a little more of a heads up so he can prepare, because it's a different version of me. But No, I think that awareness is something that is intertwined with mindfulness
Totally.
and is something that I am obsessed with. Like, I don't like to feel like things are happening to me or I'm behaving in ways, I'm happening to things in a way that I'm not understanding or aware of or can trace back to something. I mean, it's probably a bit of a control need of like, I want to be able to point to, okay, I'm feeling irritable. Well, this is why. But on a larger scale, I think it's more just I want to be aware of the things that are affecting me. And like that way I can hopefully move through life a little more aligned with what's going on, I guess. So, which probably is mindfulness. Awareness plus alignment equals mindfulness.
Maybe. I think it might just be awareness.
That?
I think mindfulness is just noticing. Mindfulness is a lot of noticing, just noticing what's happening. And you don't even have to know why. You don't have to know I'm irritable because of this. You don't have to do any of the psychoanalysis. Mindfulness is not psychoanalysis. It's just like, ooh, I'm feeling super tight, super tense, super like I'm going to snap at people. And then when you walk into a dinner, that feeling doesn't go away, but you relate to it a little bit differently than if you just walked into a dinner ready to snap at people. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I like that. Speaking of noticing, I noticed something that kind of is pissing me off. It's a complaint. Have you noticed that people on the internet, influencers, whatever, will refer to a group of products, like plural products, as singular product? So let me give you an example. There was this influencer who was on Instagram talking about how she just opened a warehouse for her merch and she's really enjoying working with product, singular. And I was like, no, you're enjoying, it's a warehouse, so I assume there's many products inside. It just really, something about it is like, I'm reading into it as trying to ascribe more importance and like legitimacy and professionalism and
I think that is professional.
Is really deserved.
I think that is a professional way of speaking when you're I think that's a different way of using the word product. Like I don't have the articulation for it, but like you would say like a product manager, they manage all product. They're not products manager. I'm sorry to push back on you on this one.
No, please don't apologize. My job title is literally product marketing manager. But so
I think product is like I deal with, I don't actually think they're saying something wrong. I'm sorry, Jess. But I always support the complaint. And I think it's annoying. I still think it's annoying.
Yes. It's not that it's wrong. Absolutely. It's correct. There's a reason it's happening at a wide scale. It's not incorrect, but it is annoying. It kind of reminded me of when you talked about enjoyment being a word that people started to use a lot instead of just joy. Yeah. And I think it's similar. It's like enjoyment is technically a word. We're not saying it's an incorrect or non-existent word that's being used wrong, but it's just kind of annoying. Like, just talk like a person.
That makes me want to share. In our last episode, we shared a completely arbitrary, subjective complaint about your friends sending you photos of a baby you've never met, such as their niece or their nephew or whatever. And like their sister, your friend's sister had a baby. You've never met the baby. You've never met the sister. They send you a photo of the baby. And so many people commented on YouTube. I love them, but I have to laugh at this. So many people commented explaining. They were like, oh, that's because that's their niece and they're excited. And I'm like, no. No, I understood that's their
I'm aware.
Niece. No, I know that's their niece. I guess some people didn't think we knew what nieces and nephews were. But I understand. So
I said nieces and nephews in the episode.
When your friend's sister has a baby, that's their niece. No, I know that. I'm not saying it's wrong. We're just saying it's annoying.
Guess whose niece that isn't? Mine. It's not my niece. That's what I'd like to say. Yeah, I did get one. I
Were,
rarely check
no,
the
they're
YouTube
sweet
comments.
because I don't know what to say about it. I just had to say, we know.
We know. No, I did get one Instagram DM that was also very nice. Nobody
Everyone's
was being
always
mean
nice.
about it,
I
which
just
I
think
appreciated.
maybe they think
but
we're really stupid.
stupid.
That's actually
fine.
not their fault.
Honestly,
that's not their fault if they think we're really stupid. I am so grateful that they're still listening to us talk if they think we are that stupid.
yeah, and honestly, I think that we can probably fall back on they think we're stupid when we say things that might be a little bit offensive.
Well, some of the things,
I was pleased with the lack of pushback on that commentary, and there were also a few people who wrote in being like, Jess, I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's not personal. It's just I don't really
stupid.
enjoy it, and yeah, I know what a niece is also. So that's
you know what another thing is that
so
I won't push back on people about. When you meet somebody and you're at a cocktail party and you're like, oh, let me think how I want to say this. I meet somebody and I've already met them, but they introduced themselves to me. Like, we already met like a year ago or something random. And they still introduce themselves and they're like, oh, I'm Rachel. And in my head, I'm like, yes, I've already met you. And I'll just go, oh yeah, I'm Caroline. Great to meet you. What I will not do is say, yeah, we already met. Yeah, we already met. And I do not understand. There's probably a few exceptional instances where that's appropriate to do. But mostly, I think it really bothers me when somebody does that. It's the reverse and I'm receiving it. I'm like, oh, I'm Caroline. And they're like, yeah, we already met. And I'm like, don't get mad at me that you weren't memorable. Do not get mad at me. This is not a bad reflection on me. You, like, first of all, it's not fucking personal. Do you know how often I am not remembered? Do you know how often someone doesn't get my name right? First of all, my own boyfriend asked me 2 months into dating, after he had already said he loved me, he asked me how you pronounce my name. He said, is it Caroline or Carolyn? And he actually didn't ask me the pronunciation. I'm going to give him grace and say he was looking for pronunciation. But he asked, is your name Caroline or Carolyn? This was after he told me he loved me. I'm not offended. I was mind blown, but I'm not offended. Who knows what illnesses people are dealing with that lead them to ask those questions. But if someone doesn't remember my name, or they don't remember meeting me, that's on me. And it's also like not a personal judgment. It really just doesn't matter. And it kind of drives me crazy when people act offended, or it's like, or even if they're not offended, what's the point of saying that? Now you're like, oh yeah, Caroline, we already met. You don't remember me? It's like, well, apparently I fucking didn't. And what do you want me to say now? Because this meeting is now negative and awkward. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? You said nothing memorable, apparently. Or we met once 3 years ago at a funeral. Like, no, I don't remember you.
I wasn't paying attention to you.
I wasn't paying attention to you. And it's also okay to not be memorable all the time. I don't understand. Yeah, we already met. Just act like we didn't meet. Unless it's like important for some reason that I need to know that we already met. That's the only reason where it's like, just say it a different way. Oh, we actually met at this thing. It's totally fine. I know it wasn't memorable. This is my name, blah, blah, blah. But the confrontation
that's
of
what
it,
I was
like,
going to
first of all,
say.
yeah, I don't feel embarrassed for not remembering you. I feel embarrassed for you for being weird.
I think that's really bizarre when people make it. I was going to ask you, do you think that you're reading into the tone, or are they actually coming at it with like an offended, a little bit aggressive tone?
Maybe they just don't know what to say.
Because I do think there's
what to say.
Maybe. But there is a very easy way if you must, or if you want to acknowledge, like, sometimes I feel like the person probably, like, maybe they do remember that we talked, or maybe there's some reason why it makes sense to remind them, like, oh yeah, I think we met at this thing. But that's the way I would do that, is like, oh yeah, I think we met at this thing. I remember you. Nice to see you again. Like, being super friendly and chill about it, rather than being like, yeah, we met. I could never imagine acting that way. But my actual approach to this is, if possible, I like to be the person that is first to speak in the greeting, because I'm really good at remembering people. And I like to get ahead of it and like kind of smooth over any awkwardness of like, maybe this is a person that I know we've met before. I know we've talked a little, but we aren't close. We've not seen each other in a while. There's no reason they need to remember me. But I would like to set the groundwork to put everyone at ease of like, hey, I'm Jess. Nice to see you. I remember meeting you at such and such. Like, reintroduce myself, acknowledge that we've met before, but not make it like you don't remember me. Like, I'm giving you my name again because I recognize that you probably don't remember me, and that's fine. So that's my ideal scenario, is if I can get ahead of it and be like, hey, nice to see you. I remember this, blah, blah, blah. And I might even say, what's your name again? Remind me your name. Like, acknowledging that we don't have to remember each other's names, but we can, like, agree that each other's faces look familiar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that, Jess, is why you're a legend and you are memorable.
Thank you.
You know?
That's true.
When someone comes back at me with, oh, you don't remember me, I'm like, yes, because you have this horrible personality. That's why.
Yeah, no, of course. That's somebody that, you're right, I don't remember you. And I'm not going to remember you this time either. I'm going to remember you as the person who was annoying and made a comment like that, and then I'm going to forget you. And you're going to have to do it a third time if we run into each other again.
A faceless blob.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that is such a weird way to handle that situation. There's a lot of other...
People are so weird.
Yeah. You've been referencing cocktail parties a couple times in the last few weeks.
I've never been to one. I've never been to one. I guess I just mean like what do you call it? Like a happy hour. What's a cocktail party? I've never been to a cocktail party.
You keep talking about them.
I don't even know if
and I'm like, is she going to cocktail party?
I think... No one invites me. I think what I meant is happy hour, where you're like standing and chitting and chatting, where it's like a mixed crowd. It's not just a group of your curated friends. It's like there are drinks and you have to mix and mingle. A shingling and mingling.
Yeah. No, that makes more sense.
Shingling and mingling. I'd rather have shingles. Yeah, it's not a cocktail party. I meant a happy hour where it's like you can't just sit there next to your best friends. You have to be talking to random people. It's like a fundraiser or like a college sponsored event.
Yeah, or even just somebody's birthday where like, yeah, you know the birthday person and a couple other people, but they've invited a big group to a bar or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a cocktail party coming up in a way. It's an engagement party. And it's like, there's what do you call it? There's like a cocktail hour, and then there's a seated dinner, and then there's like mingling after or something. I feel like if there's mingling, then it's a cocktail party, like you're saying. And I know no one at it. Like, it's one of Ryan's friends, and he's not even that close to him. It's like he almost felt random that he was invited, but we're going, and it's at a place that we like in Chicago, so I'm kind of excited to just get dressed up and go to this thing. But it's gonna be a lot of mingling, and I'm curious to see how that is with Ryan, because I am pretty good at mingling, and I feel like we've not been in many scenarios where we've had to do it really together. I think he's actually surprised me whenever we have been in a situation like that, but for the most part, it's not his MO, the way that I'm pretty able to like smooth over awkward situations with people and like just chat about like just small talk. I don't know why I've gotten okay at that, or networking like we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But he it's not his thing. So I think it's always like funny to show up to those things together, and especially when it's his people, and figure out like, okay, well, I'm the one who's a little more like outgoing and good at mingling than he is, but it's also his people. So what's this going to be like?
Yeah. So do you get drained by that chit chat? Because like I can do it. I can smooth over the awkwardness for sure. And sometimes I make it more awkward with the weird shit I say. But mostly I am good at smoothing over the awkwardness. It's just that it is so draining to me that I don't want to do it anymore. I would rather just go and be awkward. And if it's awkward, I'm like, oh, looks like we're both sitting here being awkward. Sounds like you're not doing anything either. So like, okay, I guess we're both awkward.
I think as I've gotten older and my introversion, like I've leaned a little bit more into being introverted. I think I would still qualify as an extrovert, but I've gone more in that direction on the spectrum. It drains me more, but in my 20s, I was like really good at it. It gave me energy rather than draining me of energy. And so I think now, as long as I'm not having to do it too often, I actually look forward to the opportunity, because it like returns me to a younger version of myself or something. And so I lean into it for that like day, and then I don't want to do it again for like 6 months or something. So I used to do it a lot
Yeah.
more. I used to have to do it for work. I used to just like go out and meet people maybe more than I do now. Now I'm kind of like, I got my friends, I'm good. So yeah, but I can turn it on, I guess. And I kind of, maybe I get a little turned on by me turning it on. Like there's something about it that's like, oh, like she's still got it. She's still young and hot and can talk to people.
Sure.
So I think that's what it is these days.
To be in your element. It's like one of your
Yeah.
talents. So I think it's a great feeling for anyone to kind of be in their element, in their talent.
Yeah, I guess it is a little bit
And that happens
performative.
to be yours.
It's like, oh, okay, I get to entertain some folks today.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you can work a room, you get to shine a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Yeah. I get that.
Let
I get that.
me see what else.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do with Ryan there? What's
my strategy?
Yeah, is he just like let loose on his own and like he's an adult, he's a big boy, he's survived awkwardness before as a single person and he'll survive it once more? Or are you trying to take him under your wing? No. Or are you roping him into things? Or are you just like, see you later, bitch?
No, I mean, I would like to kind of be together at this event because I don't know anybody and he only knows a couple people. So I think we will probably, for the most part, be next to each other, like navigating it together. Whereas at other events...
Wait, I just broke my chair. I just broke my whole chair.
Oh.
My chair just broke. Oh, this is not my chair. Okay, wait, I'm gonna pick this up.
Is it on the camera?
My whole, you can't see this. The whole chair just broke.
The legs?
Okay.
I can't remember that I can't see what's
like
happening to Caroline right now.
Okay, that's right. Jess can't see my video, but it's like a director's chair, that kind of chair that folds, except it's made of like leather and stuff like a family heirloom. And I just broke.
Were you bouncing at
I don't know. I was just trying to put my foot on the seat. Holy tit.
Shoot.
I'm not having one of my best days. I have been bitten by so many spiders on this island. I am covered in these weird like blood blister welts. Okay, let me put this chair away. I'm gonna have to freak out about this later.
Is there another chair?
Hold on. Yeah. Actually, there's a tiny stool.
Okay.
There's a tiny stool.
Sit on the tiny stool.
I'm on a tiny stool. Wow, that chair fucking
That
broke.
sucks. I've broken a chair. It's not fun.
When did you break a chair?
I broke a chair at my friend's birthday party earlier this year. I think it was in January. And I literally just sat on it in a normal way, just straight down onto it. It was sitting at her kitchen table,
humbling.
A wooden like kitchen chair,
Yeah.
and it just broke underneath me. And then she said like, "Oh, that's the chair that it's like been on its last leg, no pun intended. Like it's not you. The chair was already broken." And I'm like, "Then why was it at the table?
Why was it out, you fucker? Oh, that's the chair that breaks. Fuck
And she
you.
listens to this and hi, it's not a big deal. But it is just, I mean, that was at her birthday party. So it is a little bit of a like that. Now everybody turns and notices the curvy girl broke the chair.
Yeah.
Like it is a little bit traumatic. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, that is traumatic. God.
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh.
You were saying that you're a social butterfly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so usually Ryan can kind of like do his own thing at events. I can do my own thing. We'll like meet up together. I think it's like something that I value to be able to like that I don't have to babysit my partner.
Yeah.
So even though he is,
so
even though he is a little more introverted and reserved and stuff than me, he still does fine. And like he doesn't need me to be with him every second. And I think he even to some degree enjoys taking a back seat and that I'm getting to shine and like he knows that that's what I like and what he likes and we both just feel comfortable in those elements. So it's not really been something we've had to navigate, but this is a little different because it's an event where we just don't know people as well. So I think my strategy is we're together. I always find myself being a little quieter and more reserved when it's like his people and I don't know them well yet because I don't want to be like overpowering the situation when it's not my friends and when like Ryan's not that type of guy. So yeah, it's always like it's a different side of me where I just take a little bit more of a like backseat approach until there's a window where like I catch eyes with some girl. This is what I expect is going to happen. There's going to be somebody's partner at the table sitting diagonally across from us. They're not going to be the people next to us or across from us because that's too convenient. They're going to be diagonally across from us at this long seated dinner table. And we're just going to end up like having some sort of connection or vibe. And then we're going to be talking over everybody else about something really funny or really deep.
Yeah.
And people are going to be annoyed, and then they're going to offer to switch chairs. And then I'm going to leave and
be annoyed,
be like, oh yeah, I got that girl's number and we followed each other on Instagram and we're going to like get coffee next week, because that has happened before with his other friends of his. So that might be it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, I think that's nice. I do think it's really important to, I never feel like I don't think you should have to ever babysit your partner. And I get that inclination sometimes, not necessarily at a happy hour, cocktail hour. I think I'm probably the one who flails more at those. But with other things in life, when you see your partner struggling or just going through something hard, not even struggling, but just like life is hard. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe they have a hard test coming up in school, or they've got an issue with their family, or just like life things. And sometimes I get that controlling, codependent instinct to be like, I have to help them through it. And obviously you support each other in certain ways, but I always have to remind myself, like, this person was a surviving, reasonably thriving adult long before they ever knew me. They will do these things without me. Like, if they ask for your help in your way in, it's one thing. Or if they tell you, I like you to stand by my side more at a happy hour, or I want this kind of support. But other than that, I think sometimes when I start feeling, I definitely have the inclination to be like, how are they going to figure this out without me? It's like, well, they did it for 30 plus years so far without you. And just, I think, reminding myself of that. I think I'm the kind of person who needs that reminder sometimes.
Yes, 100%. I remember talking about this in one of my Jess Thoughts episodes, because...
Yeah, when you were trying to not be a
mommy, because it's so easy to fall into that tendency just because you care about the person and you want to see them doing their best, and if you want to help them if they're struggling with something, or smooth things over for them if it's awkward or whatever the situation is. But it honestly ends up like, if you do it too often and it becomes your default, I think it can also really change the dynamic of the relationship in a negative way. And there can be resentment that starts to form there because your partner's like, does she think I can't do this on my own?
Yes, if you are ever communicating to someone that you basically don't believe in them,
right.
I think I see parents do it with children a lot, and they think they're crossing a line. They're going beyond supporting and encouraging, and you actually start communicating. It's like a micromanager. When you have a micromanager at work, what they're really communicating to you is that they don't trust you. They don't think you're capable, and it's super damaging. Super damaging. Yeah.
Well, speaking of micromanagers, I feel like at work recently, and I have to be careful how much I say, I think, on the podcast about this, but in a general sense, I'm worried that I am micromanaging somebody on my team. And it's just really hard because it's exactly the thing you're describing of like, I want to see them do well, and I'm noticing some of their weaknesses, and I'm trying to be like, anticipate that a little and give them like proactive support to make those weaknesses a little easier to manage for them. But I think it is like maybe coming across as micromanaging, and therefore coming across like I don't believe in them to do it themselves or trust them or whatever it is. And I know the danger of that. And it's still so easy to fall into because at work, and maybe this is also something that exists with parents and kids or with people and their partners, it's like that person is a bit of a reflection of you. Like somebody that reports to me at work, their performance reflects on me. And so it's very easy to fall into the tendency of micromanaging because you just want it to go well, because it not only do you want the best for them, but you want the best for you. And you want to look good. It's really hard to catch yourself and stop?
I think the what defines it is a few different things. Like, to me, micromanaging is refusing to accept that someone will do things differently than you. Like, when you're managing, like, I know this with an editor, having an editor who edits half of my videos, she will never edit the video the exact same way I will. That is what I give up by hiring somebody to do it. You know, that saying of like, if you want it done right, do it yourself. That's only if your definition of right is the exact way you would do it. And I think there's a lot of moments you bump up to, I imagine, in parenting or just in managing at work, where it's like there are a bunch of different ways within the realm of reason that something could be done right enough. But I think when people are like, but this is the way I would do it, and I need it to be this way, and they're closed off to other ways of getting, you know, within a reasonable realm of success, and they keep leaning in and correcting you to the extent that they inhibit you from showing initiative. Like, when I was micromanaged, it was like I had so much initiative. I was working at this tech job. I would work till 2 a.m. I would do all the extra things. I would try all the extra things. But this manager would go in and redo things, or like give me instructions where I was no longer making creative decisions, to the point where he's taken away all of my motivation to try things. Yeah. He's taken away all of my motivation to, they're like, you know, people, you know, stupid managers are always like, well, we want you to have initiative, bring your own ideas to the table. That no one's going to have initiative if they know that them bringing initiative is extra work, right? That's extra work that you're saying, I know you asked me to do this, but I'm going to take initiative and say we also should do this. And if you're going to shoot down every single thing and have them redo it all, then it's like, that's just more work I'm doing for no reward. So now I have no motivation to show initiative. Or if I know that me making creative decisions on what colors to use on the website when I was, you know, building websites in tech, or what, you know, creative decisions, if I know every single one will be shut down if it isn't the exact decision you'll make, I will no longer make those decisions. I will ask you every single time, what color do you want this? I will ask you every single time, what do you want me to do here? Because I know that's what you're going to tell me anyway. So to me, that's the difference with micromanaging. As opposed to if you're dealing with an employee who already has no initiative, already has no motivation, is not responding to normal training in the right way, or is consistently missing the mark no matter what, like objectively missing a mark, then sometimes I feel like, you know, that's probably an employee who just shouldn't be employed.
Let them fail.
Like, it was a bad hire. And sometimes you're stuck with a bad hire, but, you know, also sometimes you're not allowed to let them fail. That's the thing. You know, it's your company, or it's your job, or it'll look badly on you. And I think sometimes there's moments where it's kind of more depending on who you're managing. If they actually have no initiative, if they actually have no motivation, are not willing to learn from their mistakes, and there are serious consequences for things not going well, and you're not able to fire them, then yeah, maybe you get in there a little more than you would like to have to do. So I think it's kind of more, what I define as micromanaging is, it kind of depends more on the person being managed and what you are shutting out from them, as opposed to necessarily just what you are doing.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the hard thing becomes like knowing which is happening, because I think there is actually a gray area in between the two things that you just described, and it's hard to know. It's like a chicken and the egg thing. It's like, did I start micromanaging this person and then they very quickly lost motivation, and then like it became a ripple effect? Or did they have less initiative to start with, and then I took away any chance of them gaining that initiative, and then it was a ripple effect? Like, I think that there's just like a slow progressive building that happens with this stuff, and it can be very hard to see clearly, where did it start and what's the real root problem? Is it the manager micromanaging, or is it the employee not, you know, living up to standards or whatever? It's really tricky, and it's, you know, like I've been micromanaged and it sucked, and I never want to be that manager. And now that I'm in the position to start managing a team, I see how easy it is to fall into that and to not know, like, even not know where the lines are blurred between what counts as micromanaging and what counts as, like, supporting somebody with a little bit more hands-on management, because that's actually what's going to help them be coached and let them grow, you know? So it's like, it's very hard to figure out what those lines are.
Have you ever asked this person what motivates them at work?
I was thinking
because I think to me that might be, I think that's kind of what defines it. Like, some people are motivated by having a manager who's super involved. They know they're paying attention. They know that they can see all the changes and improvements and work they're doing. Some people are so demotivated by that. Some people are really motivated by having a manager who never fucking asks them shit. We don't have to have a check-in. Let me be, you know, in charge of myself and autonomous and make decisions, and that's motivating. Or like some people are just motivated by money, which is not a wrong way to be motivated, because if you've ever been at some of these stupid jobs, some people are motivated by the feedback that, like, always, you know, hearing how they're doing or hearing that they're pleasing their employers. Some, you know, I think a lot of it comes down to what motivates people, and there isn't really a wrong answer. Like, saying, so many jobs won't let you say, well, I'm motivated by money and bonuses and PTO. A lot of places it's not safe to say that, but that is a legitimate fucking thing to feel, and that's most people's motivation. But everyone's motivated by different kinds of management, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's something I've been thinking about, like, to open up that conversation, and I've been trying to kind of observe and learn a little bit of, like, what it seems are the motivators for this person. But I think having the direct conversation is probably a good next step. And it's, you know, it's because I want to support them. Again, it's because I want to give them the right motivation. And so I think it's like definitely a good conversation to have. I also remember, though, and I'm not trying to, like, negate everything you say, because I agree with what you're saying.
No, we're talking through an
but
issue.
Yeah,
you're talking through a problem. I get it.
I also remember being younger in my career and, like, really not knowing what motivated me. I feel like I was so on the track of, like, get a good education and then start working in the corporate world and then try to get the promotions, that, like, I was just doing that kind of on autopilot. And I think if you asked me at the time what motivated me, it would be a very different answer than what you would get today. And maybe that's because it's just changed, which is normal. But maybe some of it is because I didn't really know yet. And my answer probably would have been something about, like, you know, just wanting to, like, do my best and, like...
Oh, it's like, okay, now we can't have an honest conversation.
Like, just kind of saying the right thing, probably. I would have probably just tried to say the thing that my employer wanted to hear in response to that question, as opposed to really being able to answer it truthfully for myself, like I can today. And so that's another thing that, like, I do think if you can get to,
you have to grow into
what are your team members' motivations, whether they're people who report to you or people you report to or just anybody that you work with, to understand somebody's motivation is key. I think that's a lot of the reason that you and I work well together and have, like, gotten through some hurdles and stuff, because we have gained, like, a deep understanding of each other's motivations with this project and with what we're doing individually and together. So I do think that that's important if you can get to it. And I also think a lot of people can't answer that question.
Well, maybe you have to give them multiple choice then, or show them, like, they also have to think they're in a culture where it's safe to say something even half true. Like, I remember at one of the great jobs I held in tech at a great company, it was a small agency, and the owners, like the founders, we would have meetings like this all the time with everyone on the team. And one time I was asking, what motivates you? And the owner of the company started, and he was like, you know, and you can have multiple things that motivate you. He was like, being able to support my family, being able to pay for my family. So was one. And then I think the other was, like, being able to support my community. You know, he was hiring people he knew and putting them in jobs that suited them and giving back to the community, whatever. So, like, from the owner's mouth, he was saying, one of my motivators is being able to pay for my family and my children to live. That's not, like, a bad motivator to be like, I need income. But it was such a big deal to hear that from him and be like, you don't have to say to make the world a better place. You don't have to say, I live to build websites. It's my calling. You can say like, I'm here because it supports my family. That's a huge deal. I will do anything to support my family. And also it's great to be able to hire my friends. And then hearing other people, I think they would give examples of like, you know, little kind of multiple choice just to jog your memory. Like some people would say, you know, they're really motivated by feeling they're autonomous and they get to just, you know, make decisions and they're trusted and respected. I know one it helped me articulate for myself, which I hadn't known yet, was it's really important for me to feel like I'm doing work that only I could do. And that I did not really have that in tech. Like in tech, there's a lot of specializations and specialized brains and specialized problem solving. But at the level I was, it was just like, you're just a builder. You can get another builder. You can get another builder who will do it the same way, do it a better way, do it a slightly worse way, but you can get somebody to do it. And I think it lacked some of the like singularness that is very motivating to me, that I find now both in doing like making videos, but also just in running a company. Like no one is going to run a company the way that you'll run a company. So it doesn't explicitly have to be creative work, but just anything that's creative problem solving, where it's like only I will solve the problem
in this way.
The way that I will solve it is really meaningful to me. Otherwise I'm like, oh, you just hire somebody else to do the exact same thing. That was something that like it helped me define. And that wasn't a multiple choice answer they gave me. And it wasn't something I knew before that conversation. But I think hearing a bunch of people give like seemingly honest answers was helpful.
Yeah, totally agree. I like the way you put that too. I think that's at least has overlap with some of my motivators. And really the way that I learned about mine was, first of all, doing the wrong thing forever, which is always our motto here, like doing the wrong thing.
That's step number one.
Step number one is do the wrong thing for a really long time. Do the thing that isn't in alignment with you. Ooh. And then when I quit my job and took time off, I had a career coach, and I was lucky to have somebody in my network who was just starting her coaching business and needed hours. And so I literally paid her $5 a session because she just needed to like get her reps in. And she was somebody that I really respected and trusted and had a relationship with already. And in our conversations, she would repeat back to me. She would ask me these types of questions about like, what are your motivators? What are the things that you're getting right now and you like, and the things you're not getting and you want more of, and whatever. And I would talk through them, and she would repeat back to me what I said. And sometimes I would be really surprised by what I said because it didn't match what I had been saying for the last 10 years. But it was the truth because I was just answering her questions in a trusted setting, finally. And so it helped me get closer to the fact that, like, some of the things you listed, autonomy, working on something that, like, comes back to me, you know, like, while I get that sometimes you just have to work for other people, ideally, like, my goal was to be able to work for myself, and still is to be able to work for myself, because if I'm going to be killing myself over something, then I want it to come back to me. So that was, and that means financially, it means fulfillment wise, it means across a lot of dimensions. And then also with my corporate job, having flexibility to be able to build on the side, build something else on the side, which I would have never named those things had somebody not like dug in and repeated back to me, like, what I heard you say is this. And I was like, really? That doesn't sound like the overachiever that I've known for my whole life, but it's okay to say flexibility, PTO, money, supporting my family, having the ability to have a side hustle, or whatever it is for you. Like, sometimes having a trusted person, exactly what you're saying, or being in a culture and a setting where that's like normalized.
It's rare. It's so rare. I mean, I think I was so influenced and affected and inspired by this company I was a part of, and I think it was incredibly rare, unfortunately.
Well, that's what I want to create. I don't know if my company's that way, but I would love to be able to create it for like the team around me, or be part of that being the culture of the team around me. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think it really depends on leadership showing that it's a safe thing to do. It's kind of like when you see, I've heard of friends working at a company that offers like all this maternity leave. It's like, we offer it, but then when the owner of the company, who's a woman, gets pregnant, she doesn't use her maternity leave. And it's like, okay, well, it kind of looks like it's not okay to be using the maternity. Like, if you are the owner of a company and it is important to you to establish that, like, it is important for women here to use up their maternity leave and be with their child or use it for whatever they want, and then you will come back and you have a secure job, then you better live that example. Like, I think it's really hard to sell people on a culture if you're not showing that it's safe to do
from the top down. That reminds me of a very similar thing at my company and a lot of companies I've worked at. I think a lot of companies in tech do this, is we have unlimited PTO. And it can be a trap.
Oh my God, I was just reading about this stuff.
It can be a trap because if you have like 20 days of PTO, then you know that 20 days is what you get, and you want to probably try to use them all. And, everybody else is also using 20 days, and it's just like, it's much easier to have a number in your head that is almost a goal of like, got to use all my PTO days versus unlimited.
And this is fine.
Sounds
this is
great.
Officially
but
fine
what ends up happening a lot of the times is people are like, well, I could take a PTO day. It's also a remote company. So it's like, well, I could take PTO, but I also could just work remotely. Or like, I could, I'm sick, but I can just hop online for a little bit because we don't have defined sick leave either. And unless the culture of the company is normalizing, like, take your PTO, people go on a week or two long vacation and use it, and then they still take days off around Christmas, and then they still take off their birthday and whatever. Unless that's the culture around you, it can be very easy to be at a company that sold you on unlimited PTO because it sounds great, and then you end up using like 10 days, which is way less, is like half than the national average, because it's just not normal to take it. So yeah, I have learned that kind of the hard way, and now I'm such a advocate of taking your PTO. I like tell my team all the time to, like, if somebody's saying, oh yeah, like, we're going up to visit my mom this weekend and I'll probably work like at least in the morning on Friday and then take off, I'll be the one to be like, just take off Friday morning. Do you have something specific you have to do? If you don't, then like, just take it, because that'll change your weekend.
Yeah, that's good. That's a huge deal to be able to do that. So funny. I feel like everyone can talk the talk, but very few people walk the walk. Okay, I don't know if this is an abrupt ending to the episode, but Jess and I have had horrible technical problems this entire recording, so we're just cutting it off now. So if that was in the middle of a statement, or if there were multiple times where it sounds like somebody wasn't replying to the other, or someone interrupted, it's because we couldn't hear each other, and we were both just talking into the void. I can only imagine the YouTube video is going to be complete
It only
chaos.
Felt a little different than usual.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you for like 5 minutes at a time, and I just decided to sit there, and then I would just hear you. I would hear your concluding statement and be like, "That's not."
She did that. She did that.
This actually is probably a better system for me, so I can't hear in order to ever interrupt. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you have an amazing day. Sign off of your computer. Stop moving the mouse. Use that PTO. Bring the culture that you want to have to work, or whatever, you know, or don't. We all have to live. So you can find us on Instagram at NotForEveryone with the number 4. Write into us with some of your work what-to-dos for sure. And we will see you next week.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we frickin' will. Let's do kisses as per usual.